Hello and welcome back to me playing Oxygen Not Included in the Hot Shots update, trying to get the Hermit to join our team. So first thing I've done in this space is indicated that I want Pacu fillets to be sent over to the other world, because there's a lot of these Pacus here. If I can get that to happen, along with some meat, I can actually make surf and turf. So I've got lots and lots of barbecue meat, but I need a little bit of cooked seafood to make that happen. If I can get that, I'll try sending that over here. The other thing, I want sleet wheat to be brought over as well. So that's going to be a cooking ingredient. Let's go up here. Cooking ingredient, sleet wheat, and pinch of pepper nut. We'll have that sent over as well. Actually, it's not so much that I care about. Actually, it's the seed version of that, which is, let's see, somewhere's around here. There it is, pinch of pepper seeds. So that's a high priority task, and having the dupes dig out into these very sleet wheat spots where they'll be able to access those once they start dropping, such as right here and here. I was lucky enough at some point to get a gift of this guy here, a pip, as well as some pip eggs. They're still hanging out here near the printing pod. I've got two of those. So I'm going to get a place that I can essentially get those guys to increase in size, number of them. So I want to essentially make another stable, and I've got a bunch of stables, right, well, four of them right here. I'll just have another one over here, but I want to put in, before I start that process of planting some, the trees, the Eber acorns. I'll get a few of those, and I'll get the pip to plant them. That's going to be their food source, and then once that is set, then I'll put in a grooming station to increase the number of those pips, because we're going to use those pips to plant a lot of wild seeds in this asteroid, starting with sleet wheat. So I've also indicated to the dupes that I want sleet wheat to be stored here so that doesn't go bad when it finally arrives over on this side. Just realized I'm not going to make any progress in having dupes send over material unless I click this button to allow manual use. That's what's going to tell the dupes to actually go pick up the sleet wheat and other various things and have it sent over. Let's have a look at where that is being sent, because I kind of forgot. So this is where I can send material back. Actually, the dupes still haven't dug out that process, so as you can see, some dupes on the way. The teleportation where things are going to be landing is going to be over here, so making a good pathway from the main base to that. Actually, this isn't too bad as it is. Maybe all I'll do is just add a little bit of tiling to allow the dupes to run a little bit quicker, and maybe even a fire pole will be cleared out in time. Dig down here, so this cold chlorine, which is in liquid form, is down a little bit further, avoiding the dupes getting their feet wet. So there is some sleet wheat being brought over. I think we're at the point where I only need one dupe over here. I've got hammer and mop. Let's keep mop here, because it's a pretty dirty asteroid and there'll be constant work that'll need to be done. And well, looking for teleportation equipment, that's right here. Let's send hammer back to the other world, because there's more work that needs to be done in the main world at this point than over here, especially since I'm now transferred over the first pieces of sleet wheat. So trying to convince this pip to plant a acorn here, but they keep putting the wrong type of plant, so I'm gonna work to get those seeds out. Told the dupes put in the seeds that I sweep at high priority right there. So let's see if once one of these dupes digs this up, I'll pause it. I'll sweep this. Do that as high priority. Now I have some acorns behind this machine. I'm just now waiting for this pip to pick up one of them and plant that right here. So a first tree has been planted. It's going to destroy this so another tree can be put there. Also getting nervous about the amount of water that I have. Now I do have ice sitting here that's slowly been warming up. But because it's about 20 tons of it, it's taking a while. So what I'm doing instead, or not, still waiting for the ice to melt, but in addition to that, I have a pipe that goes all the way from here. This is water that's come from this cool steam vent. That's not really going to be an issue temperature-wise for a little bit, so I can pull out some water. I'll eventually want to stop doing that once things get really warm, but this is more of a short-term fix for upping my water supply, because a lot of the water caches that I have, including this spot up here, is just ice. And it's just going to take a bit of time before that melts and turns to water that can turn to oxygen and other things amongst the base, including the water being used in the washroom. The other thing I'm going to have to do is deal with this polluted water that's coming from the showers and the lavatories and sinks. It is time to take on my 10th dupe. I wanted a dupe that has rocketry or interest in rocketry. They also have supplying interest. They're going to be called rockets, and they'll be joining the team. The other thing is I just installed this little section here, so I've turned on the liquid going through. But the reason for that is these plants are warm enough. I need to get this to be raised to be at least 15 degrees before these trees will grow. So I've got 3 of them planted, that's great, but temperature needs to be taken up, and that should be done in time. Let's look at the general temperature of the base, getting about 21 degrees. I did put some radiant pipes here and here, so that process of heating up should go a little bit quicker in just this particular area. Dupe over on the other asteroid doesn't have a lot to do. It might be time, since I've got enough sleet wheat here, to send them back to the other world as well. So MOP is on the way. This will be an unmanned asteroid for a period of time. But there's more to do in the homeworld than there is here. With that, I should check the schedules. Whoops. Go back over here, check the schedule. And I want to have no more than 4 per dupe, so MOP and Rocket is going to be sent down to the schedule over here. So now I only have 4 per slot. Excellent. So right now I'm just waiting for this pipe to be built. It's saying sandstone. I am not out of sandstone, am I? I feel like that was not accurate. But yeah, just waiting for this pipe to be built. It could be the fact that I'm feeding these guys sandstone. Am I actually out of sandstone or not? I can't, I better cut some out just in case. But I have been producing a lot of meat from sandstone and sedimentary rock. So maybe I'll have to watch that. One thing I can do is I can click on resources and hit, if I can hit see all. Maybe if it'll let me. Let's check out our sandstone level. I mean, still have a lot more I can dig out, that's for sure, but yeah, no, I'm low on sandstone, so I'll carve out some more. Eventually I'm gonna have to find a different source of food, but I've got lots of sandstone I can cut out for the time being. So now I'm importing some water from this cache over here, and that's making its way down for consumption in the future over here. See, ice is again slowly warming up, minus 10.3. And what I'm doing now is I'm building an input for natural gas to send that to the gas range. And I've got natural gas geyser over here, so I'll do all the connection with the pump. Ability to do cooling, although I don't need to do cooling anytime soon. And all that will be put in place so I can get some natural gas over here. Oh, and I see actually the arbor trees are now happy and growing. They've made it to 5%. So that's going to be a food source for this pip. It is 7.2 cycles until that dies, and that's because it's tame and requires food. So I do have some new eggs. Hopefully I'll get a new egg from this guy before they perish, so I can replenish the amount of pips. But eventually when pips are born, I'll have 3 trees with full branches, and they'll be able to use that as a food source. One thing I could do, if I didn't have these excess eggs, and maybe I'll do this anyways, is I could grow another type of food that these guys can eat. Actually, don't have a dupe over here because I think, yeah, maybe that's not quite possible, because that's over there. You know, I won't worry about it because I do have eggs for future pips to be joining our base. So one thing I'd like to have is the ability to have airlock over here. So I'm going to put in some liquid. I don't want to use water because that could freeze. So I'm going to put some salt water here. That's going to prevent the natural gas from getting out of this area once I dig out these 2 pieces here. Also getting rid of the polluted oxygen. If I know that the only thing that's on this side is natural gas, I don't have to do any filtering. So let's disable this building right now. But I want to create a vacuum over on this side once this liquid lock is in place. And then I can turn this on. The other thing is I want to have the, I may not, well, I want to have the ability to keep this pump cool. So I don't need to, more future-proofing this, but I'll put a pipe that goes around like this. So I can put liquid in here to keep this pump cool. Right now, minus 23 degrees. I'm not going to actually connect it with any liquid going in and out, but it'll be there for the future when that does eventually get warm. Double check the type of material I built the pump out with. That's gold amalgam. Yeah, that's fine. Making sure I didn't build that out copper or something. So I've got a liquid lock in place. I'm going to allow more salt water to be added. Do have to watch that it doesn't freeze. But right now I'm creating a vacuum over here. I even have an atmos sensor. The idea of the atmos sensor is when I do open this up, I'm going to essentially be directing this to only run when the when the pressure is decently high enough. Let's say 250. That's maybe what I'll put in there. So the dupes are looking for something to do, so I'm going to go back and plan out the next priority, and then once I'll come back when this is a vacuum, and then I'll be getting natural gas to be sent to my gas range. Have the dupes clear out this spot. So because I'm having an issue with water, it would be really good if I was actually able to convert the polluted water to just regular water. And that's what I'm going to try to do in this tiny little area. So here's the room that's going to be cleaning the water, removing the food poisoning, as well as converting polluted water to regular water. Just have a little bit of automation in here to control when these things go on and off. Put a NOT gate here and here, and connect that up with a cycle clock. So the doors are going to control when water can go in and out of these things. The basic idea is I've got polluted, or water is going to be going in. So it'll go sit in here for a time, and then it's going to make its way over to the second one, and this one won't be released until I know that the polluted water, or the regular water, has all its food poisoning removed, and then I can use this inside the actual base for regular water use. So here is my polluted water to regular water and removal of polluted or food poisoning. I've got these 2 liquid reservoirs. They're both set up with timers, so that water is going to go through or pass through this by having this door closed. And that's only going to happen during the first third of the day. So the first third of the day, this thing's essentially going to be loaded with clean water, or water with food poisoning, that is. That is then going to sit for a third of the day without any new food, water going into it. So I know that by the time that second third of the cycle is complete, this does not have food poisoning. And this is going to open this up and allow that cleaned water to go out into the system. I'm going to have that stored here. If there is if this thing is full, it'll just dump water here. Otherwise, it's going to push the cleaned water over in here in priority over the pump. So I now no longer need to provide water for my washroom and showers. All the water that is being put into that is actually going to be released back into the system. In fact, I'm going to get a little bit more than I initially had. Now it's time to think about automation of the food production, because this has been a little bit of a painful process watching the dupes put material, sandstone and other stuff into this. So let's use Miniatronics to solve that issue. Might need a bit more copper, maybe not. I'll create a few more pieces anyway. And I want to do two things. I want to take the eggs automatically out and have them dumped here, so I no longer need this, but I also want to have a system to load the sandstone. So I'm going to have several bins of sandstone. That'll be enough. That's going to have an auto sweeper right here. Oh, I think I need the research for that. Maybe that's the next step to all this. I need this guy here, the conveyor loader. So we'll do the research and we'll put all the pieces together there. At the end of today, we should be seeing, okay, maybe not this cycle, next cycle, that's when we'll get our first recycled water from the washroom. Sure, that's water that tastes great. So now I've got a system to be able to take eggs automatically out of here. All I need to do is go to critter eggs. We'll take all the eggs. Copy that setting on all 4 of these. So the sweeper will look for eggs, and if so, put that into the conveyor loader, and that's going to be dropped off right here. So I no longer need this building. We'll get rid of that. And I no longer need these special rules as to who can be here. So we'll get rid of these doors. Should check to see if I need to have some these eggs taken out. Maybe take 10. So I don't want all the critters here to be converted to meat. I want to make sure I get a few out so I can repopulate the stables over time. I also need to do advanced research that is still ongoing to actually put in the loader. But that's going to be the bit that's going to take the sedimentary rock and sandstone and load that into these. And once that happens, I'll even do it now. I can lower the priority of these to lower level so that the dupes don't do it. Rather, I'll have the auto sweeper do it. All the dupes have to do is just load material in here. And here's the first conveyor receptacle. Now the auto sweeper can take material from that and put it into here, the critter feeder. And that's going to free up the dupes from having to run in this room all the time, these rooms all the time, and fill all these. As well, there's an example of an egg being taken out and dropped off right here. Do to check to make sure these are all full. One of them, so we need a 3. So we'll wrangle 3 of these guys. Maybe select it more. But that'll keep those these stables repopulated. And right now, how much barbecue meat do I have? 400,000 calories, so that's growing. And being stored here where it won't go bad. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I notice I've got a lot of hydrogen. That means that I'm very efficient with my power. I do have solar panels at the top of my base. So what I'm doing is I'm going to store a little bit more of it over here. That way, if I need power in the future, I'll have that stored up. And any excess, I might have to start just leaking out in space. There's more material. Now I've got the conveyor receptacle on all 4 of these. So that's going to be far more efficient than the dupes were working, so we should be able to get stuff done a little bit quicker. Notice the dupes over here picking up that sedimentary rock that's coming from the other world. So instead of doing this, maybe it makes sense just to bring the conveyor loader rail over here. Just having a dump at this location. Conveyor bridge to get across the egg line. And there we are. So this system of storing hydrogen is just about online. Also thought to myself, why am I running this machine using up copper if we have an excessive amount of hydrogen? So I'll turn that off until I start to see hydrogen level start to get lower. Decided that the trees are taking a little bit too long to grow, so I planted one of these thimbleweed seeds finally. That's at 10%, that grows much faster. The pips are going to be able to eat that, and once this gets, once the arbor trees are fully grown with the branches, I can remove this, but for now they'll have something to be able to survive until then. You can see the water system is working well. I've got clean water filled up here, so I'm no longer pumping out water as long as water is coming from the washroom, being recycled and going up for use. So now I only need water for actual oxygen production, so electrolyzers are using it. Guess I'm using a tiny bit over here in the water cooler, but all the water that goes into the washroom is getting out of the system now, actually, except for the fact that I am having a little bit of that polluted water directed up to here temporarily. The other bit I have complete now is anytime the other dupe in the other world is sending sedimentary rock over, instead of having that dropped over here and the dupe's picking it up and sending it over here, it now is automatically being dropped off. Having this change out from gas masks to Atmo suits. The reason for that is I'm going to have the dupes go down into the really cold area. They're also going to be working in some wet areas where it's cold, so this is going to give them temperature protection when they're down there. So that's going to need some power. And we'll need to fill those with Atmo suits. Got a place to generate them over here. Actually, remind myself now, repair Atmo suit forever. And we can start to have them loaded in here. So here's my natural gas. I've left this for a while, but I have a vacuum here. So now what I'm going to do is get the dupes to dig out this area. We even want them to mop up here. It's preventing gas from getting into this area. And that should allow me to send natural gas to my gas range, where I can finally cook something in there and hopefully send that material to this mailbox. So now let's put the setting here of being above 250. This is going to prevent the pump running when the pressure is really low. But now, for the first time, I'm going to be sending natural gas into my piping system, and that's heading towards the gas range. So I now have a fuel source for that. Now, stress really isn't an issue. It's at 0%. But just to be preventative, I've added some carpet tiling on the cots. That's going to have a stress relief effect when the dupes are sleeping, just in case anything did get stressful for them. So we're down digging this path, just figuring out
the different floorings for this. So I'm going to dig a path down here. And because it's extremely cold at this location, I thought this would be a good opportunity to plant some sleet wheat with the pips. And thankfully I don't have to build a rocket and go anywhere because I have pips available to me right here. As well as sleet wheat that is coming from the other world. So the dupes have made it to the bottom of this asteroid. I've got, it's a frozen core, which I'm going to be taking advantage of. Normally I would take advantage of in sense of power production, but I'm going to use this for growing wild sleet wheat. So I'm going to have one level of sleet wheat here. I'm also going to have some here and here as well. In some of these holes, I might actually put some water down in that spot. I have to be careful about how I do that to actually create more ice. But when I plant this, I'm going to have to plant it from the top up, or the top down rather. So let's carve out the spots for this from the top and then go down.
So I've had to take a little bit of break to deal with some other things, but very happy to be back gaming again. And I think I will wrap up this episode, but I will say one thing is I got thinking while I had to do other things that my sleet wheat idea, planting it down here, especially where it's minus 100, is not going to work that well. Because if I go to sleet wheat, I can see I need to have it at least above minus 55. Well, shoot. I'll either have to warm up this area. I'm not going to want to take that strategy. Or, oh, someone's trapped down here? Yeah, they are. Whoops. Okay, that is, let's get on top of that. I'm going to stop digging down that area, except for rescuing that one dupe. And what I'm going to do is choose another place to grow sleet wheat. I could either do it above this area, so it could be in this oily area, minus 40 here, or I could do it possibly at the top. I'm trying to do an area that's far away from the base, possibly up here as well. Anyways, that's too bad, but not big. It didn't take too long to really. That's just digging out and exploring down here is not really a bad thing, anyways. But the other thing is, I think maybe in the meantime, instead of trying to set up a wild farm, I'm going to grow some, instead of planting some wild, I'm going to grow a farm instead. And that'll speed up the initial sleet wheat, as well as some other plants as well. And then I'll move towards doing wild plants for more long-term stuff. And that's going to speed up the process of getting food to this guy. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end on this episode. I'll push this out, and hopefully I'll have another episode soon where I start to plant some of this stuff, and then I can get ingredients to grow stuff in here and send it to the hermit. I will see you in another episode. Till then.